Hi, thanks for joining me today. Sally Lewien coming to you from Fitbak Systems. And today I wanted to give you some recommendations for self-care. These are specific recommendations for respiratory health and especially good for those people who are coming out of COVID or people who've had any kind of respiratory viruses here in the last several months and they're having a hard time getting over those symptoms. It's also amazing maintenance care for those of you who are super healthy out there, but just want to take extra special care of your respiratory system right now. Between the smoke we're having here in Colorado, and we're moving into the winter season again, where the viral load is just going to generally go up in the community. It's great self-care for everybody to be doing. So we're going to cover a couple of different topics today. We're going to be looking at how we stimulate the vagus nerve, which is so incredibly important when it comes to our ability to heal and overcome things, whether it's just stress or a virus. And then we're also going to be looking at lymphatics in conjunction with that. And the super cool thing here is that we can get both of those at the same time. So this is really simple. There aren't really any things that you can go wrong with. The only contraindication when you're doing this work applies to the lymphatic portion. And that is the number one rule with lymphatic work. Don't do it if you have a fever. So if you are sick, you have had COVID or another virus, and you're really still pushing to get over the mountain, you've not reached that point where you start to feel better on the other side, don't do this work yet. Hang off a little while until you've gone over the top, till you're starting to make some forward progress, and then this is the work that you put in that will speed you through the rest of the way. And if you're well, definitely start doing this work right now. If you start to feel sick, back off, because it can stir up a lot of things in your body. We don't do lymphatic work if you have a fever, because at that point, the body is pushing as hard as it possibly can. It's giving you everything it can give you in the immune system to fight. So we don't want to tax it any more than that. Always, always, when you're doing this work, also make sure that you're very well hydrated, because we are pushing fluids through the body at a faster pace than it would normally carry, which means you need to replace that fluid. So make sure you hydrate before and make sure you hydrate afterwards. Okay, so I've put a little diagram together here, and I know you guys can't see the words on here because it's too far away, but it's going to give you a general idea as to where I want you to focus with this self-care. So here behind the ear is where the vagus nerve starts to drop down from the brain. That's a super sensitive area for vagus nerve as well as lymphatic. But we're going to start our self-care protocol always here at the clavicle. This is the major area for both vagus nerve and lymphatics. You don't do anything in the lymphatic system unless you clear this, you open this, you stimulate this area first. And we're going to do both sides. So just to start with, when you're doing that, you can just move the tissue around over the clavicle. If you want to use the vibration here, we need a little bit of a more gentle tool. This is what we call a Z-Vibe. And honestly, I bought this off of Amazon. It was over $40, and I don't think it's a necessary tool. I'll use it until it wears out. But ultimately, if you have an electric toothbrush, you can do this work with the electric toothbrush, and it's probably going to save you some money. So obviously, you don't want the toothbrush getting tangled in your hair. You don't want that. I'll let you handle the hygiene aspect of that. Just get the vibration on the bone behind your ear and on your clavicle. And on most people, you can fit and you can get both of those vibrating at the same time. So you're going to vibrate along the clavicle gently to start with, go up behind the ears, put some gentle vibration on that bone behind the ear. That's going to stimulate the vagus nerve. That's going to help you drop into parasympathetic. That's the rest and digest area of the nervous system. We're talking about decreasing sympathetic responses here, helping you to chill out, relax, and get those fluids to flow and take really good care of that vagus nerve, because it innervates to pretty much everything in your body. It's really, really important. So get some gentle vibration going there between the back of the ear and the clavicle. And you can hold that for as long as you want, really. The only thing with vibration is it must feel good. If this work doesn't feel relaxing, if it feels irritating to you at all, it's not right for you. There's other things in play with your nervous system, and if you want to reach out to me, we can have a conversation about that. That will be maybe 5 or 10% of the population. Usually happens in really, really overstressed people. If you start to add vibration into your body, this is another contraindication in any of these places, and it makes you feel dizzy or just weird, irritated, that's a sign that this is too much stimulation for your body. Your body's not ready for it, and you need to back off and do some other work first. But like I said, for 90% of the population, this is going to feel amazing. It's going to be relaxing. It's going to be stimulating to the vagus, and it's going to really help the lymphatics. Okay, so once we've got this little bit of vibration happening here, and we've opened the clavicle, we're going to come back to the clavicle and just do a little bit more work here. So this is where, if you want to lay down and do some lymphatic work on your own body at this point, you can join us in that. And with that, you're just going to be gently moving the tissue in the same locations that I'm putting the vibration. So we're going to start off moving between the clavicle and the armpit. So I really like this toy. This is my favorite because it gets this work done fast. You can cover 2 points with one at one time. So I'm just gonna turn it on to its lowest level, and I'm gonna clear it with Suzanne before I apply it to her body. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're gonna come to the clavicle and the armpit, and there's a point here at the pec muscle, which is about here, that in acupuncture and acupressure refers to lung 1, and it's an awesome point to stimulate the lungs themselves. So we're just going to hold that vibration between the clavicle and the lung, and if you're just doing this manually, you're just, with a flat hand, you gently scooping towards the clavicle. From the armpit towards the clavicle, just gently. How's that feel? Good. Good. Suzanne likes this, very relaxing. Okay, and then I'm going to come across the other side. So at each of these points, you can hold it as long as you want to, as long as it feels beneficial and comfortable and pleasant. If you wanted this to take half an hour or an hour, you could do that. This peanut device has a off button after 10 minutes, so if you do fall asleep, it's not going to just keep going, but you can just reset it as many times as you want. So we're doing that point on both sides. Make sure that vibration is getting up there into that clavicle. It's a really important area. And when I'm doing this with clients, I usually hold it here for 30 seconds to a minute in each point. Then we're going to come into the sternum. Now on the sternum, it's really nice to vocalize. I don't know if Suzanne's up for doing that on camera. She might do it for us here in just a minute. But why I say that is because as the vagus nerve drops down here and it comes underneath the clavicle, it wraps around the esophagus. So if you vocalize while this vibration's on your sternum, you carry the vibration all up into the skull, behind the ear, all up and down the esophagus. The vagus nerve loves that. So give it a go, Suzanne. Awesome. And you feel stupid, but nobody's listening. It's really, really comforting. And when you get into it and you do it a little bit, you'll figure out it's really a nice addition to any self-care. adding that vibration, that vocalization in. So there's a couple of points here on the sternum that we hit. And then always be gentle at the bottom of the sternum. You've got a very soft spot, a very tender spot, the xiphoid process there. There's a little bit of a nobble on some people, or in others it just disappears here into that soft part underneath the ribs. So don't put a lot of pressure there or a lot of vibration there. I'm going down into the belly, so I'm gonna up it just by 1, so we just have a little bit more. And here I'm going after these deep abdominal ganglions. So here, deep in the belly, is where all the nerves from the upper half of the body come down into a ball before they then disperse from the abdomen down into the legs. It's an amazing place to do self-care. Wonderful, again, for the vagus, great for digestion, great for lymphatic flow, any kind of irritation in the abdominal area. If you're having a hard time breathing again, this is stimulating for the diaphragm. So that's a huge muscle that impacts respiratory system. So you're going to be encouraging that to loosen and have a better function also with this work. So ideally you want to hit 2 points above the belly button, 1 point below the belly button. The length of the abdomen is different on everybody. So you don't get in there for 3 points, don't worry about it, just do as much as you can. And if you're massaging in there, you're just adding gentle pressure and just creating kind of a wave sensation in the abdomen with a little bit of an upstroke. That can come up underneath your ribs gently on both sides, scoop up into the diaphragm. Just get some movement in there. And once we've got the deep abdominal ganglions, then we're going to come out a little bit, find the hip bone, and place the vibration a little bit away from the hip bone. You don't want it on the bony processes, it doesn't feel great there. But this channel here by the hip bone is the main suck zone for the fluid that's coming up out of your legs. So a really important area to keep open, to keep free, open fascially, as well as with the lymphatics. And I know we said respiratory, and we're going down into the abdomen, but once you understand how all the organs are connected and how the lymphatics flows through the body, the belly is so critically important to the rest of the organ health. And it's also critically important to the function of the brain. So we're going to spend a good amount of time in the abdomen, clearing fluid, making sure that vagus nerve's stimulated and happy so it can help you digest, so it can take care of all the other organs in there, and you stay in tip-top shape. All right, last point here for Suzanne and the vibration. And again, if you're doing this manually, you're reaching into that same area and you just gently scooping up out of that area towards your belly button. How are you doing, Suzanne?
Good.
Good. Relaxing?
It is relaxing. It's really relaxing.
Hold this guy down, turn him off. Right. Now, I think I may have to adjust my camera. So this last technique is something that obviously you can't do on your own. So if you have a friend or a buddy, even a kid or a spouse, whoever's around that can give you a little bit of help. And if you're a therapist and you're applying these things to your clients, this is fantastic for lung health. This is the lung, I can never say this, lung pump. So take the meaty part of your hand, the heel of your hand here, find that little squishy spot below the clavicle before you hit into the ribs, and be careful. Obviously, if you're working on a female with breast tissue, I'm gonna move my fingers out to the sides just a little bit so we keep Suzanne comfortable here. And I'm gonna, with a rhythm, push straight down towards her feet. Straight down, not up in the air, not down to the table, just straight down to her feet. And as I do that, I'm able to feel where the resistance is in her lungs as she breathes. And then I can direct my pressure a little bit more towards those resistances. So on Suzanne right now, I can feel she had a little bit of a resistance on the right side up against the sternum. That's starting to let go. She's taking a deeper inhale now on that side. A little bit of restriction in the left side on the top. That's dissipating. The body really likes this rocking motion. Should be comfortable for the person on the table. And as we just keep going, you want to do this for a minute or two. And that's loosening all the way down a sternum. And notice I'm not taking my hands off the body. I'm staying in contact. I'm moving with my legs. This pulse is coming out of my feet, not out of my hands. All right, how do you feel? Okay. All right, so that's a lung pump. For the actual lungs themselves, we've got lymphatics all around the abdomen, up into the armpits, a little bit of vibration up here behind the ears. Always clear at the clavicle first before you do anything. And if anybody has any questions or queries on this, I'm happy to spend some time with you. Drop a question below, or you can reach out to me directly, and I will get back to answer questions. For those people who are live with us today, I'm going to do that right now. And for everybody else, like I said, reach out or DM me, and I'm happy to help you along with this process. Okay, thanks for joining us.